circles run around you. And now let's be honest, I really think it's true. You know, sometimes we all bend the rules.
So we have the show coming up on the 29th, November 29th. You are putting the old band back together, putting the old couple bands back together. I know obviously this is something that you're very passionate about, but what does it feel to you emotionally, bringing people, being the conduit to bring all these people together?
I think it's such an incredible thing that like what I orchestrated back in 2003 and 2004 and 2, you know, and then was lucky enough to go have a career with it, you know, as just being like a hungry kid that wanted to like see bands in his hometown, and it kind of just blew up in the best way, you know. I think it just means so much to me. It always did, but to see that it means so much to like other people, and that like other people are excited to see people they haven't seen in 15 years, maybe 20 years. It was kind of Rusty's idea, but I really liked it when he came up with it. He was like, we need to like make this like it's a high school reunion, but it's, you know, but it's like the one you want to go to. Seeing bands I love get back together to play songs that were just songs I still listen to this day, whether it be Last Flight Home or Bi-Level, you know, and then having, you know, friends that were a part of the Farmington scene for so long that never really got their due. A band like Enemy Airship, you know, the 3 guys in that band are all from Farmington. They all played in bands. They were always talented. I'm so excited to have Enemy Airship on this show, and I think it's going to be just awesome just to have 3 more Farmington guys who are from the area who came up, and we could show, you know, Calvin, Tim, Rusty, Ben, I mean, Marcus, all these guys, right? Are all from the area, and it's just so incredible how great they still are, even greater than they were when we were so young, you know. But like, you know, Last Flight Home's coming out with those new songs that are going to be out pretty soon, and that's just to see people like mend fences, get back together, or just see each other and think, man, this is so great to see you. Now I have a reason to see you. Would you say they were like your favorite, like St. Louis local band that played up there?
Oh yeah, because me and all the other girls, like we were totally different friend groups, but we would always meet up there and front and center dancing and singing the whole time.
Do you think Bi-Level kind of added to like the atmosphere of it all? Like, just like they were very, it was very positive music and fun music.
Yeah.
And I always thought like, man, no one sounds like this. I've never heard a band that sounds like Bi-Level.
It really felt like that at the time.
So it was like our band. It wasn't like we were watching a band trying to be good because they sound like some other band. It was like these 3 guys who rip, who just sound like no one I've ever heard in my life. You know? Yeah. It was catchy. It was, you could sing along to it, you could dance to it, but it was so different from anything I've ever heard then and since. I've never heard a band that sounds like that.
It was a really unique experience. Like even thinking back on it today, just the music that they had compared to all the other different kind of stuff that we listened to at that time, they really brought like a totally different atmosphere, and it made a really unique experience for us being teenagers, just like feeling that positivity and feeling that type of music going through us, and it didn't matter what our backgrounds were. Like we were 100% there, and Bi-Level really just brought us together.
You know, give me like 4 or 5 of your favorite concerts that you saw there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like it was always great when there was like, you know, a national act coming into town and then the local support. But some of the best for me were like just the local shows where it was Bi-Level, Last Flight Home, or Not Waving. I mean, it was always exciting when an outside band came in. Like for me, probably the Under Oath show was hands down. If I had to pick a show, that for me, probably memory wise and excitement. And I was really starting to get into that style of music from like punk rock and pop punk. And it really exposed me to that kind of more, I guess, aggressive what became screamo. And that was really impactful for me as just like a fan of music and seeing music done a little differently and for me, like seeing keyboards and music for the first time. So that was, you got it on me. That was my first, that was my favorite show for sure. But the local shows just had a different vibe. It was very community and I loved it.
I live in Farmington right now, and I drive past where Bob's was all the time. And every single time I think of a show, I watched that band there, or I watched Under Oath there, or I remember playing a show there and, just having such a blast, man. And I miss it,
Yeah, no, me too, man. Was there like a certain band that you remember seeing that maybe you hadn't seen before that you kind of fell in love with, or you remember just being like, oh my God, that blew me away?
I think a lot of the bands from Carbondale, just because that was the first place that I saw them. If like the Hangarounds, the Copyrights, It Burns, all of those bands that were so close but so far away when you're 16 and you have got to drive 2 hours to see them. So it kind of opened me up to another scene, which I think was a really cool thing about Bob's, is that it was sort of this like conglomerate place where you could check out so many different styles of music all in one show. And I think it really helped to connect people to like their spot, maybe without even realizing it. All kind of like subgenres that would pop up. And then, now 25 years later, it's been really cool to see everybody kind of merge together and play in bands together or become closer friends, having maybe see the bands or just hung out there.
Carbondale, for about 3 or 4 shows between 02 and 04, Carbondale kind of let us borrow their scene a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I went down there because of Fighting 407 and Jake Foff playing in Fighting 407. Right. And I was like, whoa, there's like this whole scene of bands here. And they all play like really good pop punk. And we didn't really have that here. So I was like, and I love that kind of music. And by then, like the bands that were doing that here were already gone. They already moved to St. Louis. So we didn't get like that Honeymoon Habit or Simpleton or Mute Boy or any of those bands, Right. So that was like really, I always thought that was like the coolest thing, that they kind of like let me borrow their scene for a minute.
Right. Know? And I think, a lot of, especially people around my age or younger, probably that were hanging out at Bob's maybe didn't even know that there had been a music scene before. But you're right. It was a really cool space for this like weird Midwest, weird kid trapped in a small town overlap. Yeah, it was like I said, it was really, Bob's created a really cool place for you to find your specific brand of weird, because even though we were all in the same, small hometowns, maybe you preferred, like the Copyrights as opposed to Last Flight Home, right? Or you were excited to see Mummy the Peep Show when they came, or Silverstein. But it was a way to get to really be hyper specific with who you bonded with. So I think that was a really special thing about Bob's, is that, and I think that's why a lot of our friendships have endured such a long time, like decades, because through going to shows, we were really able to connect with people that really got us and weren't maybe just around.
So Chad, you went to a lot of Barbarino shows back in the day. Is there one that really kind of stands out to you as being like just like one of the best shows you've ever seen, or it's just like a really fond memory for you?
Under Oath outside, and I think that's my favorite not waving performance, and I've seen them a bunch. And I've seen them at Rosner's, and then I've seen them play Pops. So it's like, I've seen them in a lot of different venues and a lot of different times. but I feel like that was my favorite Not Waving show. Todd's rolling around on the floor. I think he maybe had his shirt off, was like screaming into the monitor, and it was just feedback and noisy and really metal and hardcore and just really swagger kind of rock and roll. And I think that's, you know, I was a Not Waving fan for a long time, but that's when I feel like fully got what they were doing, and it landed with me more so than any other time I had seen them before that.
Ashley pushed me into my first mosh pit, and that's how I met my best friend Ashley. Yeah, but there was, I want to say, any Last Flight Home show was obviously amazing. I really liked every time Calico System came through. Sophomore, Spitalfield shows, all of them. Bi-level shows, all of them. It's so hard to pick because there were so many that were so good, and that was kind of like our life. We were always there.
Is there a time though where you think of something that happened there, and you like that? Oh, that was a really funny story. That was a good time. Is there like a memory that you have?
I want to say, oh yeah, there was a really good one where my friend got hit in the face violently with a Mountain Dew bottle, and we were all just moshing and having a really great time, and then that ended the party for a second really quickly, and then he hit the deck at Barbarino's and then just came back up just victorious, and we all were very pleased. All of those moments were so incredible because there were times where we were just, I don't know how we're alive. we were just going so hard all the time.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to think about now, because at the time you're just living in the moment, but now you kind of look back and you're like, wow, that was really pretty special. You were probably 15, 16 years old when you were going to those shows?
When I started, I was 14.
Okay, there you go.
Yep, and then 15, 16, 17.
Do you remember anything about the pizza or Bob or anything like that?
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah, Bob's Pizza was killer, man. Like, as far as Bob himself, I met him maybe twice, and every time he was always very welcoming. You know, he was always, he was kind of like, you kids are in my house type of thing, you know? It's like, it was almost like the father figure, you know, like, but it always seemed like it was just like, yeah, make yourself at home, you know, do what you got to do your crazy kid things, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, he was a big Spitalfield fan.
Was he? Oh, well,
yeah, he loves Spitalfield. It was like his favorite band. So I always tell Mark when I see him and I talk to him, I'm like, man, you were his favorite band. Do you remember anything about the Barbarino's Pizza?
Well, I remember going with you on a whole lot of deliveries, and I do remember that in the red Cavalier, dude. So,
yeah, dude.
But I don't. You know, I saw all the clips and people not really knowing Bob. I think the only conversations I ever had with Bob was talking trash about the Yankees, and you know, he'd give it back to me or whatever about the Cardinals, you know. But it's just a cool place, man. It was just fun.
I feel very guilty a little bit for getting to be that happy, because man, that was so fun. And I don't, at the time, you know that it matters. You know, you asked me that earlier, and it's like at the time you know that it matters and you really enjoy it, but like you don't really understand how much it matters to other people. And then you see like, oh man, like these people, I'll post like a bunch of pictures, right, on Facebook or something, and I'll get like 100 likes or 200 likes or 50 comments, and like I remember that, there's me, blah blah blah, and I'm just like, that was, and it's like, wow, it's 22 years later and people still remember every single bit of it, and it's still like some of their fondest memories. So Yeah, it's very sentimental in a lot of ways. And, obviously Bob's gone, and I think about him, and I think about how wonderful he was and what a character he was. And, we were really close. We spent a lot of time together, and I just respected him so much, and he really loved music. And I remember this story one time with him where we were watching the All-Star game, and it was in Boston. And this was this is prime Ataris being the biggest band in the world. Boys of Summer just come out, and they were at the All-Star game and they were playing it. And I said, a year ago that band could have played here. And he was like, no way. I said, yeah, that's how it works. And then 3 years later, I meet Chris Rowe from the Ataris. We become friends. He starts doing acoustic dates. And I'm like, I remember having this conversation with Bob, and I want to throw this in Bob's face a little bit. I said, and I remember calling him and being like, hey, remember that conversation we had about the All-Star game and how that band, the huge band that was playing, and how great that would be if they could play here? Well, they're going to play there on this date. And he was like, you're kidding me. No way. And I remember just I wish I had the picture still. I don't for some reason, but I remember them. And there's him against the counter, drinking some wine, I think, and just smiling and enjoying the show. It was an acoustic show. We never did anything like that at Barbarino's, where we have a really big artist come in and do an acoustic set. So years later, when it was still there. It was I think it was the last year it was open. It was just so great to be able to bring something back and to a new community of people. But obviously now that's gone, and it's been a long time. But it makes me feel really good that it meant so much that people are excited to come out and they'll drive to St. Louis to see the show.
Even after that, going to Mizzou and stuff like that, I think Bob's was the first real pizza that I had. Everything else was, at that time it was, Papa John's was peak, and you had Domino's and Pizza Hut and stuff like that. But yeah, when you went to Bob's, you got this, just big, freaking awesome home cooked pizza that had way too much cheese on it and greasy. And again, being a broke high school kid, you throw down some dollars with some friends, and there's plenty to go around. And yeah, obviously when you're at those shows, you're going crazy. So you just want a cold soda and a hot slice of pizza for sure.